Hello. Today we're talking about buffers. I'm going to adjust my camera. Here we go. All right. So I'm not floating on a boat with you today. We're talking about buffers. And we're talking about buffers because of these two work situations that I have come across recently. And I'm wondering if you've come across similar, the same, exactly the same buffers. Let me put up the note for you. Buffers. We've talked a lot about boundaries on this program, how to set clear boundaries, how to set kind boundaries. But let me give you these two situations. One is sometimes when you're running from meeting to meeting and they're right at the 1 hour mark, you just don't have time to gather yourself. You don't have time to write down notes from that meeting, or you don't have time to even take a break, whether it's checking up on other people who are sheltering in place with you, or doing other things that you need, like grabbing some tea, grabbing a cup of water. So for those reasons, when you're in big meetings back to back, you may need to create some sort of buffer for yourself. That's a time buffer. The other situation that I've seen come up often is an attention buffer, sort of your own, what are my guardrails? When do I need to be focused on something? I'll give you my own example. I had a client coaching meeting today, and when I'm coaching a leader at an organization, I need to be present. And by be present means I need to be focused only on that and not anything else. So I did a 1 minute meditation, which I highly recommend. You can do it by just sitting and breathing for 1 minute. You can do it by, I happen to like the app Insight Timer, which just has a lovely gong at the beginning and at the end, a sound. But whatever you do, you can use buffers to be your friend. So whether it's the fact that you are back-to-back in meetings and you just don't, I've told you often that you might get to feeling very tense just because of that back-to-backness, or an attention buffer, such as doing something like meditation. So today we're going to run through some really quick 3 things that you can do to create buffers, which are time, the concept of not yet, and clarity with kindness. We're going to run through all 3 of those. But before we do, tell me directly, please, where do you need a buffer? Where in your life do you need to set up a little bit like a soft space between one thing and another? Whether it's your attention boundary or it's a time boundary, where do you need a buffer? The best part of these sessions with you is when we're actually talking about specific questions. So just think about yourself. Where do I not have enough of a buffer? Where do I feel like I'm going from thing to thing, from idea to idea? I don't have a chance to get to the 30,000 foot level at all. So with that in our mind, I'll take some of your comments so we can go through them specifically, and let's run through 3 ways to gain more buffer system in your life. I'll give you one very well-known example. The former CEO of LinkedIn, Jeff Weiner, used to have a very, very specific thing that he's talked about and written about, which is the 90-minute block. In each day of his work day, he has 90 minutes that he sets aside without meetings, without other things. They can be in 30-minute blocks. They can be a space of 90 minutes. That's a buffer. That's space for yourself to get reorganized, reprioritized. That's an example. Where do you need a buffer? Tell me in the comments, where do you need a buffer? Okay, first thing you can do is time. I am the biggest proponent maybe in the world of odd timed meetings. And my specific favorite odd time is the 45-minute meeting. But I'll tell you, I even made an agreement just today with a leader that I'm coaching that we are not going to start on the hour. We're going to start 10 minutes after the hour, because it just so happens that the time of the day at which we're meeting is not a really great top of the hour start for either of us. So where can you shape your meeting to have an unusual start time or an unusual end time, so you have time to take notes, to run to the kitchen and get some water, to do any of those things? And I just, for a long time, I've highly recommended, why do we weirdly have 1 hour meetings or these half-hour meetings? Why don't we make it what's necessary for us? 35 minutes, 45 minutes. I'll tell you one joke about it. I wish I had the photo for us, but there was a photo at one point somewhere in social media of people having a buffer in plank position. So, they're all in plank position on the floor, and that's their meeting. So they can only do a meeting as long as they can hold a plank. I don't remember if it was a straight arm plank or a bent arm plank, but your meeting lasts as long as your plank. I think that's so fun. It's just fun, it's quirky, it's a different way of doing it. So that's a time buffer. I am reading from one of you that the biggest place that you need a buffer on is between finishing work and starting home. I have to tell you that comes across so often in our coaching. And I think one of these will be relevant for you. So one is the time buffer. Don't make your meetings 1 hour and back to back. The second is the not yet buffer. That's a response to things that come at you during the day. So if you need to do this and you need to do this and you need to do this, a very realistic answer can be not yet. That you're able to do it, but, and then you have to figure out at what time. The not yet answer. And it can be kind to say not yet, as opposed to saying something and then not delivering on that commitment. So not yet is another way of creating a buffer. This can happen when you have multiple demands, whether it's home and work or 2 different work demands, or in matrixed organizations, we sometimes have demands. That's my demonstration of a matrixed organization, verticals and horizontals. In matrixed organizations, we sometimes have demands and pulls from different areas. So how can we, with whatever we're doing, say not yet to something and give a specific response time, expected response time? And the third one is clarity with kindness. We've talked about this before. If you have a situation in which you need a buffer, so even for example, like let's say that you're in the middle of a meeting and you realize that there is a complete meltdown outside your door. I'm pointing to my door. You need that time. Just say, hey, I'm going to go on mute and off video for 2 minutes. It's weird. You shouldn't do that every day. You shouldn't do that at every meeting. But if you need to do something that's clarity with kindness, that might be it. It might be the reverse way. Somebody might come into your office as you're working and you could have clarity but kindness there. Love to help you with this, but the meeting ends in 15 minutes. So today is all about creating the buffer for you. What are you taking away? Whether it's from setting an unusual length of time for your meetings, 35 minutes, 45 minutes. I love 20-minute meetings. I used to be the I wouldn't say the master, but I used to be the biggest proponent of 20-minute meetings. Sometimes that's all you need. Setting the time that you'll meet so that you have a buffer between odd-spaced meetings. Creating a not yet mentality. This is actually really healthy. Sometimes it feels like you're saying not yet, which is a big no, but it's healthy because you're setting your boundaries in your own buffer. And finally, just when you need to set a boundary and a buffer for any situation, wanting to take your mind share in your mind space, you can do it by setting clarity with kindness. I hope this is helpful. I gave you some specific examples, but then I gave you 3 ways of addressing those examples: through unusual time for your meetings, unusual length of time, through an approach of not yet when something comes right at you at the same time, like in a matrixed organization, and then by saying with clarity what you can and can't do. So being clear, but being clear in a kind way. All the best to you. May you set great buffers for the remainder of the day, and may you have a wonderful weekend. We look forward to seeing you again next week. Next week, it's going to be a lot of sessions about how to grow with change. We look forward to seeing you Monday to Friday, 11 a.m. Pacific. All the best. See you soon.